What is going on, guys? My name is Bucky Roberts and welcome to your very first tutorial in MongoDB. Now, I'm sure a lot of you watching this video already know exactly what MongoDB is and what it's used for, but for those of you who may have just heard the name before and aren't really sure exactly what it is, I'll give you guys like the quick 1-minute introduction. So MongoDB is the most popular NoSQL database. So why would we actually need this? Well, say that you were making a website and, I don't know, let's say it was a social network and you wanted to store a bunch of user information. Well, you could use MongoDB for that. Say that you're making some mobile app and, I don't know, like it was a game and you wanted to save a bunch of scores from all the users. Well, you can use MongoDB for that. Anytime you want to save information on a server, you can use MongoDB. So that's what a database is, but what is the NoSQL part? Well, traditionally, before the big NoSQL movement, whenever you wanted to save information in the database, you did so in kind of a tabular format. So think of a spreadsheet where you have a bunch of rows and columns. This is pretty much how you save data before, but what this NoSQL thing is all about is pretty much a movement where you can now save data to a database without using tables. So if you guys are like, alright, that sounds a lot more confusing, well, it is at first if you're used to, let's say, MySQL or something, but it actually gives you a lot of benefits, not only performance and speed, but also a lot more flexibility with your programs as well. So it's pretty awesome, and we'll actually see a lot of benefits later on, but for now, of course, the first thing we need to do is actually download and install it. So if you go to the website mongodb.org, you're going to see a big green download button. Maybe somewhere else. They probably changed the website, depending on when you're watching this. But find the download section and click it. And this is going to give you a couple options if you scroll down. Now, of course, the first thing we have to decide is what operating system are we trying to install this on. That shouldn't be that hard. I'm running Windows in this tutorial. The next option is what version do you want. So you're going to see a couple choices. Whenever you have Windows 7 or newer, for example, I'm running Windows 7 in this video, you're going to want to choose the default one. Legacy means Vista or older. So any Windows 7 or newer, 7, 8, what's the next one, 10, since they skipped 9, you're going to want to choose this one. Anything older, that's what the legacy is. So I'm going to go ahead and download this MSI, and this is pretty much just an installer. So whenever it downloads, you double click it and it's a wizard that you click next a bunch of times, and then you're going to have MongoDB on your computer. Alright, so it finished installing. Let's go ahead and double click this. Opens it up. Yes, I want to run it. Let me minimize my window right there. Alright, so we're pretty much going to stick with all the defaults. Let's just go ahead and click next. Let me read through this. I read it. Trust me, guys. Alright, next. Now here what we want to do is we want to install the complete, and this is pretty much like it says, going to give you all the features. No need to customize this right now. This is the first tutorial. So complete and install. So it's going to do its thing, and Windows is probably going to ask me for permission. So yep, there you go. Yes, I'll allow it. I trust it. And it's actually a real quick installation. Alright, so apparently we now have MongoDB on our machine. So now what we can do is we can go to our start menu, computer, and double click on our hard drive. Now in our program files, we're going to see that we now have a directory called MongoDB. So double click that and go into your server 3.0 and look for a directory called bin. And by the way, the path of bin may change depending on if they decide to, update the location in future versions of Mongo. But essentially, look for the directory called bin, double click it, and inside here you're going to see a bunch of Mongo executables. So these are a bunch of different tools that you can use with Mongo. The only two that we're going to be worried about in the first couple of tutorials are this one, MongoD, and this one, Mongo. So MongoD, this is the actual Mongo database. So eventually what we're going to be doing is we're going to be running this program right here, and it's pretty much just going to run in the background, but once you run it, you can start using your computer as a Mongo database. So if you guys are like, alright, well, where do I actually do the typing, writing all my commands and stuff? For that, you use Mongo, the regular Mongo application. So Mongo is a command line interface where you can type all your database commands, add data, remove data, all that good stuff. So again, MongoD is going to run in the background, and we're going to be doing all of our typing inside this Mongo command line application. So let's go ahead and figure out how to set everything up. What we need to do is we actually need to open up in the start menu again, type CMD and open up the command line. I actually have it pinned to my taskbar. I recommend you do that, but if you don't want to, then just type CMD and click this, and it opens up your Windows command line. So what we need to do from here is we actually need to navigate to this directory, and we need to start MongoD. And by the way, anytime you want to run an executable through your command line, all you do is you navigate to the location and type the name without the .exe extension, so just MongoD. So if you never used a command line before, it's actually really easy. I'll show you guys the really simple commands that you need for this tutorial. So obviously, the location of this is in C, program files, MongoDB server, whatever. So right now we're in C, users Bucky. We need to get back to C, our main hard drive. So if you type CD, this means change directory, and you can type ... and that'll move you up one directory. So now we're in users. Let's do that again. And now we are in C. Now anytime you want to move into a folder, for example, if you want to go back into users, you type CD users and hit enter. But what we want to do is we actually want to go to this location right here, program files, MongoDB server 3.0 bin. So we can actually type that all in one long path, and hopefully I won't mess anything up. So program files, what was it? MongoDB server 3.0 bin. Alright, now hit enter, and there you go. So now we are in this directory pretty much. So, and actually if you want to verify that, then you can type dir, and it's going to list all of the contents or all of the files in that directory. So as you can see, we now have a bunch of different executables: Mongo, MongoD.exe. So remember, I told you, anytime you want to run an executable, just type the name MongoD, simple as that. So whenever we try to run it right off the bat, as you can see, things aren't going smoothly. We have one little issue that we need to take care of first, and that's this. This little message is kind of hard to sift through, but this is essentially saying you need a data directory, and that's what the C data DB not found terminating means. It's pretty much yelling at you because it's saying, alright, you're trying to set up a database to store a bunch of information. You need to give me a directory or a location to store all that info. What am I supposed to do? Just pick some random place on your desktop? No. Where am I supposed to store this info? And the standard location to store it is on your hard drive. Make a directory called data, and then in there make a directory called DB. So what we can actually do is just go to your computer, in your hard drive, right click here, make a folder called data DB, or a really simple way is through our command line. If we just type the command mkdir, and actually let me show you guys. Alright, so right now, as you can see, we have no directory called data or DB at all. So I'm going to type mkdir, which means make a directory, and then type data DB and hit enter and check it out. So now if we go back into our hard drive, we now have a directory called data DB. So any information that we store using MongoDB is going to go right in here. Pretty awesome. So what we do from here is just run the MongoD command again and check it out. Now, since we have that directory, gave it a place to store the information, the database is running correctly, and it says waiting for connections on port 27017. So everything is going awesome, nice and smooth. We can start typing commands, working with MongoDB. However, I'm going to show you guys one little shortcut. And by the way, if you want to stop watching the video right now and just whenever you want to run the server, navigate to this long string right here, you can do that, move on to the next video. But if you want to pretty much save yourself of having to type all this, I'll show you guys a cool little shortcut. So back in your Windows Explorer, navigate back to Program Files, MongoDB Server 3.0 bin. Now inside here, right click any of these files and choose Properties. So we want to copy this location right here because we're going to be setting up a shortcut where we're pretty much going to say whenever we type MongoD, look in this location. So that way we don't have to type it out every single time in the command line, because that was kind of a pain in the butt. So once you have this copied, you can actually close out of here. And actually, let me close out of my entire database right now. So if you go to your Start menu, right click Computer, and hit Properties, what you can do from here is go to Advanced System Settings, and this gives you an option of Environment Variables. So click this button, and what you want to do is you want to create a new variable and name it PATH, all in capital letters, and paste in that location. So now in our command line, whenever we type Mongo, it's going to look in this location for default, so we don't have to navigate to it. And by the way, I already have my path set up because I actually had Mongo installed on my computer. I just uninstalled it for this tutorial. But anyways, once you have it, click OK, and make sure you click OK right there. And check this out. You can now, from your command line, type MongoD, and it starts up without having to navigate to that weird location. So definitely a lot more handy. And now, as you can see, our Mongo database is now sitting waiting for connections. Now obviously if you try to type in here, you can't, because I said this is just the database. It's just a program that runs in the background while you're listening for connections from like users to your website or whatever. If you ever want to start using these commands and testing everything out, go to your command line again, and since I have it open already, I need to open another one. And remember, the program to type all of our commands is Mongo. So just hit enter. So as you can see, it gives you a little cursor. This is actually where you type commands. I'm going to be teaching you guys about all the commands in the future tutorials. For now, just to ensure that everything is working, type DB and hit enter. And that just prints out the name of a default database that it gave you. But now we know it's working, and actually, as you can see, it says one connection now open, which pretty much simulates that we're a user writing some requests or commands right here, and we are now successfully connected to our database. So pretty simple. There you go. Now that we got all the hard stuff out of the way, in the next couple tutorials we get into the really fun stuff, so I'll see you then.